I opened our cloud to back up beach photos and found a buried album called Work Trips. Selfies in hotel beds. Cities she never told me about. One photo? Taken the same week I flew her parents out for her birthday. She said she was in Denver. The metadata said Chicago. That's when I stopped breathing. My name's Adam. And this is the story of how I found out my wife was living a double life. And that night, I realized I had no idea who I'd been sharing my life or my cloud storage with. We'd been together 5 years. Married for 3. Her name's Jenna. She's in marketing, or at least, that's what she's always called it. Said she handled client events and digital campaigns. Always traveling, always on call, always packing at the last minute and flying out with her laptop and that silky blue scarf she said made her feel like a grown-up. I never questioned it. She was ambitious, independent. I like that about her. I'm a software engineer, remote, quiet, not exactly built for spotlight moments. Jenna, though, she could walk into a room and flip the energy like a light switch. But over time, things got distant. Not in the explosive, fighting every week way. More like slow erosion. Conversations that used to last hours shrank down to "Did you eat?" and "Don't forget the trash." We still touched, still kissed, still went to brunch and posted anniversary photos. But something hollow had crept in. I blamed the travel, the stress. I blamed myself, thought maybe I wasn't making her feel seen. So I planned a surprise trip. Mexico. Same spot where we'd gone on our honeymoon. I dug out old photos from that trip and started uploading them into a Vacation 2023 folder. That's when I found it. A folder inside a folder. Titled in lowercase, like it didn't want to be noticed. Work Trips. I opened it. It was like flipping through someone else's diary. Selfies in hotel mirrors. Drinks on balconies. Dinner plates with 2 sets of utensils. A shadow of someone's arm, male, judging by the build, reflected in a window behind her. One photo showed her lying in bed, lips pursed, sheets barely covering her shoulders. It was taken at 8:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stared at that one the longest. Not because of what it showed, but because of what it didn't. No sign of work. No laptop. No documents. Just her, glowing in morning light that I wasn't there to see. I didn't feel rage. Not yet. Just confusion. The kind that seeps into your bones when the person you trust most leaves breadcrumbs that don't lead home. I checked the metadata. She'd been in New York. I was in Austin that week, coding in a coffee shop, thinking about what to get her for our anniversary. I dug deeper. Some subfolders were locked, not visible in the shared view. She must have uploaded them from a private account, then linked only a portion. Whoever else had full access? It wasn't me. I closed the laptop, walked outside, and just stood there in the driveway, barefoot, like fresh air might make the truth feel less sharp. The sky was cloudless, warm, ordinary, but nothing about my life felt ordinary anymore. I went back inside and poured a glass of water. My hands were shaking. That night, I didn't say anything to Jenna. She came home late, said the meeting had run long, kissed my cheek, asked if we still had oat milk. I said yeah, watched her move around the kitchen like nothing was wrong. And maybe for her, nothing was. But for me, the questions were just starting. I didn't sleep that night. I laid beside her, listening to the sound of her breathing, watching the rise and fall of the chest I used to trace with my fingers. The same chest now photographed under hotel lighting I'd never seen. The same shoulders tucked beneath sheets that weren't ours. She didn't stir once. That's what got me. How peaceful she looked, like guilt hadn't even touched her. By morning, I had a plan. Nothing wild, nothing rash, just clarity. I needed proof. Needed answers she couldn't gaslight or bend or wrap in that smile that used to melt me. So while she was in the shower, I opened her laptop. She never logged out of anything. Said it slowed her down. I used to tease her about it. Told her one day, I'd read her open tabs and find out she was living a double life. Guess the joke aged well. Her email was open. Inbox filtered by label, travel. And buried under receipts and reservation codes was a thread of confirmations. Not to me. Not to her team at work. To someone named Caleb. Each one started the same. Looking forward to this weekend. Same sweet as last time. No interruptions this time, just us. My stomach turned. I clicked the attachment on one. A photo. Him this time. First clear look. Strong jaw. Shirtless. His face wasn't familiar, but the room behind him was. Same bed from the cloud photo. I read the emails in order. 5 months. Different cities. Same routine. But what cracked me open was the one dated the week after my dad's funeral. I wish you could have stayed longer, he'd written. Next time, don't go back just because he needs you. She'd replied, I know. I'm trying. I remember that week. I'd been a wreck. Sleepless. Numb. She'd flown home early from Seattle to be by my side, walked with me at the service, cried when I spoke. But now I knew the truth. She hadn't come from Seattle. She came from him. I closed the laptop, every nerve in my body humming. This wasn't just cheating. This was intimacy. Rehearsed, repeated, compartmentalized betrayal. She hadn't slipped. She'd chosen this again and again. And I'd been so blind. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to wake her up and demand the version of her I'd fallen in love with, the one who left post-it notes on my mirror and danced barefoot in the living room. But that version? She was gone. Or maybe she'd never been real. Jenna came into the kitchen 20 minutes later, towel around her hair, phone in hand. She smiled when she saw me. "You okay? You look pale." I told her I was fine. She kissed my head and said she'd be back late. "Another client dinner." "The usual," she added. I nodded, then watched her walk out the door with the same calm she used to say, "I love you." The second the door clicked shut, I opened my own laptop, and I downloaded everything. The photos, the emails, the hotel receipts. I didn't want to use them. I didn't even know what I'd do with them, but I needed to have them. Because denial is loud and memory is slippery. I needed proof that this wasn't in my head, that what I felt was real. By noon, I'd found his profile. Caleb Morrison, real estate consultant, divorced, 2 kids, lived in Chicago. I scrolled through his social media like it was an autopsy. Posed smiles, gym shots, a few conference pics. But no Jenna. He didn't post her. Of course he didn't. She was the secret, the escape, the lowercase folder hidden beneath life's highlight reel. That night, I watched her sleep again. Not out of affection, out of grief. Because it wasn't just the marriage I was mourning. It was the version of myself who trusted her without question. The man who believed he was enough. She stirred once, rolled toward me, murmured something about dreams. I stared at the ceiling, heart cold and quiet. Tomorrow, I'd ask her, not accuse, not yell. I wanted to see her face when I said his name, to see what truth looked like when it had nowhere left to hide. She came home late again, smelled like wine and hotel soap. Said the meeting ran long, traffic was a mess, her phone had died. I nodded through it all, watched her toe off her heels and toss her keys into the bowl by the door, the same routine, down to muscle memory. She didn't notice the way I was watching her. She never looked long enough anymore. We had dinner. Or, I should say, I made dinner. She picked at it, pushed her food around like she was waiting for an excuse to leave the table. I gave her one. "Who's Caleb?" I asked. The fork stopped, mid-circle, like her hand froze before her mind could catch up. She looked at me slowly, carefully. "Who?" "Caleb Morrison," I said, calmly. "Chicago. Divorced. Real estate. Likes rooftop bars and hotel beds with gray headboards." Her face didn't crumble. It hardened. That's when I knew. This wasn't some one-time mistake she was ashamed of. This was a life she'd been living right beside mine. She stood up from the table without a word, walked to the sink, and rinsed her plate like I hadn't just said the name of the man she was cheating with. Then she said, "You went through my stuff." It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. I let the silence stretch. She turned, arms crossed, eyes like glass. "Is that how we're doing this now?" "You hid a folder inside our cloud account," I said. "I didn't hack anything. I stumbled across it looking for beach photos. Instead, I found 5 cities, 12 hotels, and at least 20 photos of you looking happy in a life I wasn't part of." She swallowed. "Barely. In the emails, I added. The ones where you told him you wished you could stay longer. The ones you wrote the week my dad died." That cracked her. Her eyes welled, but she blinked the tears back like they were inconvenient. "Adam, I never stopped loving you." I let out a laugh that didn't sound like me. "Don't," I said. "Don't drag love into this. Love doesn't live in hotel rooms with someone else." She stepped toward me. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I asked. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've had a second relationship behind my back for almost half a year." Her voice shook, finally. "It wasn't a relationship. It was me being lost. It was me not knowing how to be happy anymore." I looked at her, this woman I had built a life with, planned a future with, memorized like scripture, and I couldn't find a trace of the truth in her eyes. "You could have told me you were lost," I said. "You didn't have to lie. You didn't have to choose someone else." She sat down slowly, suddenly looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "It started during a trip to Portland. I was lonely. We had a fight right before I left. I didn't feel wanted. I met him at the hotel bar. He asked if I was waiting for someone. I said no. And then you weren't mine anymore," I said. She covered her face. "I didn't reach for her. Not because I hated her, but because something in me had shifted, something quiet, irreversible. After a while, she looked up. What happens now? I don't know, I said. But I know this isn't something we fix with a weekend off and couples therapy. She opened her mouth, closed it, then said, it wasn't about him. It was never about him. Then why keep going back? Her answer came too fast. Because I didn't want to feel alone. And with you, I started to. That landed like a punch I never saw coming. Not because it hurt, but because, deep down, I had felt it too. The distance. The silence. The way we'd both been showing up like shadows of ourselves. But I stayed. I showed up. I didn't lie. I didn't cheat. She did. That's the difference. I got up from the table. I'm staying at Mike's tonight, I said. I need space. She didn't fight it. Didn't ask me not to go. Just nodded, like she'd already prepared for this part. Before I left, I paused at the door. Did you ever plan on telling me? She hesitated, then said the quietest truth of all. No. I thought I could live two lives and bury the part that hurt less. I nodded, then walked out into the night. And just like that, our marriage became something I used to believe in. Mike didn't ask questions. He opened the door in gym shorts and a hoodie, nodded once, and said the guest room was made up. That's the thing about friends who've known you since middle school. They don't need details. They just see the look in your eyes and know it's not about borrowing a couch. It's about not breaking alone. I didn't sleep much. I lay on the twin mattress in the room where his niece usually stayed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, wondering if Jenna was in our bed, wondering if she was crying, or just cleaning out drawers in her head, deciding what life she'd walk into next. In the morning, I made coffee and opened the folder again. The one with the emails, the photos, the itinerary of betrayal. I told myself it was just for clarity, that I needed to see it all to move on. But the truth? I was looking for signs of her I recognized. I wanted to see my Jenna in those pictures. The way she smiled when she got tipsy, the laugh that crinkled her nose, the sleepy look she gave me when she was half listening but still present. But I didn't see her. Not the version I knew. What I saw was someone lighter, unburdened, like she'd left behind the life we'd built and stepped into a parallel universe where her choices didn't have consequences. It wasn't just the hotel rooms. It was the look in her eyes. Freedom. Or something close enough to it that it burned to look at. Around noon, I got a text from her. Can we talk? I think we need to before this gets worse. I didn't reply. A few hours later, I got another. I'm not defending what I did, but I need you to know it didn't start because I stopped loving you. It started because I stopped recognizing myself. That one sat in my chest like a stone. Because somewhere, deep down, I knew what she meant. I'd changed too. We both had. The steady guy she fell for, the one who brought her coffee just the way she liked it and memorized her flight numbers, he'd gotten quieter, more withdrawn. Somewhere between debugging code and managing stress and trying to be a husband, I'd stopped showing up with the same sparkle I used to. But I never stopped showing up. And that's what matters. By the next morning, she showed up at Mike's. I didn't invite her. I heard the knock, opened the door, and there she was, in a gray hoodie, makeupless, hair in a loose bun. Not the Jenna who posed in rooftop selfies. Just her. She held a flash drive in one hand. What's that? I asked. She looked down, embarrassed. Everything. The photos. Emails. Messages. I figured, if you need them for divorce stuff or closure or whatever, I wanted you to have it from me, not a cloud folder you weren't supposed to find. I didn't take it. I didn't need it. Not anymore. I already downloaded it all, I said. She nodded. Of course I had. I'm sorry, she said. I know you don't believe me, and I wouldn't either, but I swear, it wasn't about replacing you. It was about escaping the version of me that didn't know how to fix what we had. We sat in silence. She looked around the room, like maybe she expected to find a photo of us still hanging somewhere. But there wasn't one. Not here. Not anymore. She took a breath. I ended it. With him. When? I asked. The night you asked about him. I raised an eyebrow. So, after you got caught. Her eyes filled, but she didn't deny it. I didn't come here to beg, she said. I just needed to say it to your face. That I know I broke us. That I might have broken you. And that if I could go back. But you can't, I finished. She nodded. There's a silence that follows betrayal. It's not loud. Not chaotic. It's hollow. Like standing in a house that's still standing but stripped of furniture, curtains, photos, everything that made it a home. That's what sat between us. I'll be gone by the end of the week, she said. I won't leave a mess. I'll forward the mail, call the landlord, cancel the anniversary dinner. I'll handle the logistics. I almost laughed. That's what she was always good at, logistics. But love? Love's not a checklist. Did you love him? I asked. She shook her head, then paused, then nodded once, like the truth had fought its way through her mouth despite her best effort to keep it polite. It wasn't the same kind of love, she whispered, but it felt easier. And that, more than anything, told me everything I needed to know. She didn't want us anymore. She wanted easy. I hope you find peace, Jenna, I said. Real peace. Not the kind that needs secret passwords and hotel reservations. She wiped a tear with the back of her hand. Me too. Then she turned and left. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel her absence like a wound. I felt it like a door finally shutting. She was gone by Friday. No long goodbye. No dramatic scene. Just an empty closet where her color-coded dresses used to hang, and a bathroom shelf that looked like it had never known the chaos of her morning routine. I half expected to find a note, something final, something human, but there was nothing. Just silence. And a strange kind of stillness that felt clean. Her keys were in a bowl by the door. The ring was gone from the tray on her nightstand. She'd even taken her favorite mug, the blue one with the chipped handle. I found myself weirdly angry about that. Like she'd claimed a piece of the past that still belonged to both of us. But that's what people do when they leave. They curate their exit. Take what feels safe. Leave what feels heavy. For the next few days, I lived in that in-between space, not grieving, not healing, just pausing. Like my life had been put on hold, and I was waiting for someone to press play again. Mike checked in. So did my sister. I kept saying I was fine. I wasn't lying. Not exactly. I was just tired of explaining a kind of pain that didn't bruise. The worst part wasn't the cheating. It wasn't even the lies. It was realizing how many of those last few months I'd been loving her alone, carrying the weight of something she'd already set down. Every joke I told to make her smile. Every dinner I made. Every weekend plan I suggested. I thought I was building something. She thought she was buying time. One night, I sat on the floor of our bedroom with the last box of her things. Stuff she'd forgotten or ignored, old receipts, a scarf she never wore, a notebook with half-finished to-do lists. I flipped through the pages. Most of it was boring grocery lists, client reminders, half-finished thoughts. But then, on a page dated just before her birthday trip, I saw something. Flight to Denver 3 p.m. Dinner res, 8:30. Chi rooftop. Chi, Chicago. It was small, easy to miss. But it said everything. A reminder of the cover story she'd used the weekend she slept in someone else's arms while I ordered takeout and picked up dry cleaning. I stared at the page for a long time. Then I folded it, slipped it into the drawer with the rest of the things I wasn't ready to throw away yet. Closure's a slow thing. It doesn't come with one big cry or one dramatic decision. It comes in pieces, like deleting the shared calendar, or switching to a new grocery store so you don't run into memories in the cereal aisle, or waking up and realizing you didn't think about her first thing in the morning. One night, I walked by the hallway where we used to keep framed photos. I'd taken most of them down, but one had slipped behind the dresser. I picked it up. It was from our honeymoon, Mexico. We were on the beach, barefoot, grinning like idiots. I was sunburned. She was holding a margarita the size of her face. For a second, I let myself remember what that moment felt like. Not the lie it became, the truth it was when it happened. Because I needed to believe it had been true. That not every laugh was a rehearsal. That not every kiss was borrowed. And maybe that's the most painful part of being betrayed by someone you love. Realizing how real it all felt, even when parts of it weren't. That weekend, I went back into the cloud. Deleted the work trips folder. Not to erase it, but to stop giving it power. That story was hers. But the recovery? That was mine. And I wasn't going to keep dragging her secrets into my healing. The next morning, I booked a trip. Just me. Somewhere quiet. Someplace warm. Not to run. To breathe. To begin again. Not as a husband. Not as a victim. Just as a man who still believed in love. Even if the person he gave it to didn't know what to do with it. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Didn't post about it. Didn't update my status. Just packed a carry-on with a couple of shirts, a paperback I hadn't finished, and my passport. Booked a small place off the coast. Nothing fancy. A second-floor room with a view of the water and a balcony big enough for 2 chairs, even if I only needed one. First night there, I didn't even unpack. Just sat on the balcony and listened to the waves. There's something about silence that feels different when you choose it. Back home, silence had been a punishment. A weight. The echo of a voice that used to fill the house. Here, it was air, space, a soft kind of freedom. I didn't think about Jenna much. Or Caleb. Or the hotel rooms. Not in the sharp, hot way that used to pull at my stomach. It was more like remembering a scar, something that hurt once, deeply, but no longer controlled the way I moved. I read. I wrote. I let myself be bored. And somewhere in the middle of all that stillness, I started to see myself again. Not as the man who'd been cheated on. Not as the guy who missed the signs. But as someone still here. Still standing. Still worth choosing. One morning, I walked into a cafe down by the beach. Sat at a corner table and ordered a coffee the way Jenna used to. Oat milk, cinnamon on top, 1 sugar. Out of habit. And when the barista set it down in front of me, I realized it didn't taste like her anymore. It just tasted like coffee. And that, somehow, meant everything. Back home, I didn't go straight to the apartment. I went to my sister's house first. She hugged me tight. The kind of hug that says, I don't need the details. I'm just glad you're okay. We talked for hours. About everything and nothing. Eventually, she asked the question I'd been waiting for. Do you think you'll forgive her? I didn't answer right away. Because forgiveness isn't a switch. It's not even a gift you give the other person. It's what you give yourself when you're tired of carrying the weight of what someone else did. I think I already have, I said. She looked surprised, but I wasn't. Because by then, I'd stopped looking at Jenna like the villain in my story. She was just someone who broke, who reached for the wrong thing when she felt like she was falling. Doesn't mean I excuse it. Doesn't mean I forget. But I'm done bleeding for it. I moved out of the apartment 2 weeks later. Got a smaller place across town. Just me, a couch, and a view of the skyline I used to forget to notice. I didn't bring much with me. Left the shared things behind. Gave away the mugs, the framed quotes, the wine glasses we picked out at that outlet mall in Denver. Or was it Chicago? Didn't matter anymore. I hung one photo in the hallway. Not of her. Not of us. Just the ocean. A blurry shot I took from that balcony on the second night. The sky pink. The waves darkening. The world quiet. A reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I reclaimed. Sometimes, people leave in pieces. And sometimes, the person who walks out isn't the one who's been gone the longest. Sometimes, the betrayal isn't what breaks you, it's what wakes you up. I'm awake now. And I'm healing. Not perfectly. Not quickly. But honestly. And the next time I love, it'll be with both eyes open. No cloud folders. No ghosts. No borrowed time. Just presence. Truth. And peace that doesn't ask me to be someone else to deserve it. The end.